Alright, hey guys. So it's been a while since I brewed something and recorded it. This summer's not really been the most productive. I think I brewed about 3 beers. I did a wit beer, a Munich Helles, which came out really well, and another batch of my red IPA. So I haven't done much, but today we are doing a Oktoberfest. It's the first trial of the beer I need for my wedding next year. So let me show you the recipe for it. So as you can see, we are doing pretty basic recipe. 6 pounds of German 2-row Pilsner, 5 pounds of Munich 20, and then 8 ounces of a Cara Munich. Doing all German hops, 1 ounce of Hallertau, 0.6 at Titang, and 0.4. And then I'd use the WLP. What number is that? WLP, I think it's 8. It doesn't tell me. Well, whatever. The Oktoberfest for the White Labs. I don't know what the number is. I think it's like 820 or something like that. But so this is what we're doing today. So the reason I'm recording is what we're going to be doing is actually a decoction mash. So we're going to be doing 2 rounds of a decoction mash. So as you can see here, mashing in with about 6 gallons of water for a low grain bill. That's going to be a pretty thin mash. It's about 2 quarts per pound of grain. Normally you do about 1.5, maybe lower. So then we're going to decoct 7.66 quarts for the first decoction to bring it up to 147, and then we're going to decoct another 3.82 quarts. Then we're going to do our mash out, and everything else after that's the same. And then we are also going to be doing a 2-hour boil, as you can see here, boil time right there. And the reason we're doing that is we want to get some of those Maillard reactions to happen. So as we're boiling, we almost want to burn the wort a little bit, so that way we get some of those toastiness out of the wort. So this is what we're going to be doing today, and I'll show you how we're going to do it. So what I use here is a nice little 1 quart ladle, Polarware. I got this on Amazon for like $8. This is perfect because it's exactly a quart. So what I'll do is I'll scoop out my grain, get exactly a quart. You want to get as much grain as you can without the liquid. You want the liquid to stay in so the enzymes can still work on the other grains. I'm gonna use this pot. This is my original pot that I used when I used to brew on a igloo system. And then I'm gonna just boil everything on there. So that what you'll do is you'll bring the grain up to a boil for about a half hour, and then you'll put it back into the mash. So I'll show you that as we go. And that's pretty much gonna be it today. So let's get started. Okay, so we just mashed in for our protein rest. We mashed in at 126. We're trying to hold about 124. So I'll show you what that looks like. So as you can see, like I said, it's going to be soupy. This is a pretty thin mash. The reason we do that is because we're going to be decocting. So I'm going to hold this temperature for about a half hour. Then we're going to pull out for the decoction. So this is what the first decoction will look like. You should have not that much liquid in it. You want to try to have pure grain and continually stir so you don't burn it until it gets to boiling. You'll do this for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then you can put it back in slowly. Alright, so we just put that, we went back in with the decoction. We're back up to normal grain level. One thing you want to watch when you're decocting is make sure you stir consistently so you don't burn the bottom of your pot or your grain. Basically stir the entire time. And then when you put it back in, go in 1 spoon at a time and continually measure your temperature. You don't want to overshoot your temperatures because the grain is 212. For me, I was actually low, so I have it recirculate and get the heat up. Alright, so we got another decoction in about 20 minutes. So we're coming on to our second decoction. So I'll show you guys how I scoop it. Gotta get in there, just get as much grain as you can. So for this decoction, that really wasn't a good one. Let's see if I can get a lot of grain in this one. So for this decoction, we're doing 3.82 quarts. So this is a 1 quart spoon. As you can see, what I try to do is I try to get as much grain as I can without any liquid. Not the easiest thing to do. Probably a spoon with like a strainer would be good, but this gets the job done. So we're going for 3.82. That was about 3/4 of one. Trying to get all grain. The reason you don't want to get as much liquid, because when you start to boil the grain, you're actually going to denature all the proteins and the enzymes. So when you're doing this, you want to leave the enzymes and the liquid behind and just bring the grain along with it. Now, I know one of the big things with decoction mashing is people are afraid of tannins, but for German style beers, especially with Pilsner, you actually want that its desired taste, but in low amounts, and decoction mashing doesn't actually do that much tannin value, so tannins really aren't the big issue when it comes to decoction. So there's 1.5. So I'll fill the pot up and I'll tune back in after that. So let me finish that up. So we just started this second decoction. We got about 4 quarts of grain in here. As you can see, it should be pretty dry again. By the end of it, it'll be a lot more liquid in there. Your mash is pretty thin. As you can see, the color's changing a lot. Got a real nice brownish orange color, and the grains definitely start to get a little more color to them as well. So we'll do this again for another 15-20 minutes, add it back in, let it sit at 156 for about 15 minutes, and then we will spard. Okay, so we just finished up our last little bit of recirculation after the 2 decoctions. All in all, it came out pretty well. You probably won't be able to make it out in the video, but there is a lot of protein in the wort. We're basically looking at cloudy. It almost looks like an egg drop soup, kind of like you do when your wort does your hot break and your cold break, which means that we definitely did very well with our protein rest. So as you can see, the leaf just fell in. Got very, very clear wort. So that comes from the recirculation. Helps out a lot. So now we will gather about 8.5 gallons because we're going to do a 2-hour boil. The reason we do that 2-hour boil again is to get some of those Maillard reactions. So we want a little bit of that burnt toast, crust, biscuity type flavors that you'll get from kind of caramelizing the wort a little bit. So we'll see how that comes out. So I will resume when we get to the boil. Okay, so we are done mashing. We're heating up our wort right now for the boil. We actually hit our volumes and our gravity exactly. So I think it's 1.037 pre-boil for a 1.054 post. So we'll see how this comes out. You can see the color is awesome. It's going to get a little darker, but we'll see how it goes. So 2-hour boil. We'll get to the hot break. We'll count down an hour, then we'll add our 60-minute hops, our 15-minute hops, and our knockout hops. All right, stay tuned. So here is a shot of the post mash. You can see all the slimy protein from doing the decoction mashing. Not sure if it's more the decoction or the protein rest, but this is basically what would have made it into your mash tun. And your hot break is this. So decoction mashing benefit 1 is right here. Okay, so we are finishing up the boil. Well, the boil's done. We're finishing up our whirlpool now. We're down to about 88 degrees. So in PA today it's about 98 degrees, so I won't be able to get too cool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to whirlpool this a little while longer, and then I'm going to put it into my carboy, and then I'm going to throw it into my fermentation chamber, which is a freezer. I'm going to let it sit there for about 2-3 hours, and then I'll pitch the yeast when it gets down to temperature, just because I'd be sitting here a pretty long time if I'm waiting for this to cool. So as you can tell, the color is gorgeous for an Oktoberfest. Real nice dark orange with some amber in it. Came out real nice. So the boil definitely darkened it. Hopefully we got some of that caramelization, and we'll give it a taste before we put it in the fermenter. So. Okay, so we are now in the carboy. So with all lagers, you want to make sure you get plenty of oxygenation. So what I have here is just a oxygenation stone on the stick. There's the stone. Just put that in. Just going to turn the oxygen on. Just do that. It's hard to do with one hand. Gotta put this down 1 second. Alright, so we get the bubbles going. So with the oxygenation stone, as you can see on the side, right there, you don't want it to be like bubbling like it's boiling. You just want a nice slow bubble, and you'll see at the top, the bubbles on top will definitely get a little overwhelming at times. For lagers, I do about 60 seconds of this, and for regular ales, I'll do about 30 seconds because you don't want to over-oxygenate. The one thing you got to watch when you're using pure oxygen is you can over-oxygenate, and you don't want to do that because that'll lead to the papery off flavor. So as you can see, you will get some bubbles blowing out. It's fine though, just make sure you're ready to clean it up. Do that for about another 20 seconds. So again, with lagers, you want as much oxygen as you can get. Alright, and that should be plenty. So we'll turn this off. Good. And that's really all we're doing. So now, again, because I could not cool this all the way, we're going to pitch it into our, we're going to put the fermenter into our freezer. And we're going to get this cooled down to about 65 degrees, and then I'll pitch the yeast. Okay guys, so got my, the wort down to 15.2 degrees Celsius. I'm going to ferment at 12, but I want to actually pitch this warm. With lager yeast, I like to pitch warm so that way it can get a good start. So we're going to pitch a little warm. I have my White Labs Oktoberfest yeast here. One thing I recommend when you're planning to do a lot of lagers or barley wines, anything big, get one of these big flasks. This was a pretty good investment. You can see where the line I had, I was trying to do a 4,000 milliliter. I did a little more. Oh well, no big deal. Most of this is yeast. I decanted off the top of it. So I'm going to pitch this in, and then hopefully we'll get some results probably in the next 24 hours. So we did good oxygenation, and the wort's ready. So let's put it in, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we are here just under 24 hours. As you can see, we are bubbling away. This morning, I'd say about 7 o'clock, so I pitched last night about 12 o'clock, so about 7 hours in, this bad boy was going at it. So, as you can see, it's a lager yeast, so it does not ferment from the top, so you won't get the krausen that you get from a normal batch. But either way, it's looking pretty damn good. So we're fermenting now at 11.7 degrees, which is about 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So just some recap on this brew day, which was yesterday. Went pretty well. First decoction mash I've ever done. Came out really well. I did taste it. It had the best taste I've ever had from really any beer, from just the wort. Obviously IPA wort isn't exactly the best, but this one was pretty good. One thing to note when brewing, in the summer at least, make sure you always pay attention to humidity. This past weekend in Pennsylvania, we were pushing 100% humidity. It definitely affects your boil. I had to crank my boil up a little bit, just to make sure I boil it off enough. So that's one big thing to remember. And with your lagers, obviously make sure you oxygenate. Biggest thing is oxygenate. Cool your wort, pitch yeast a little hot, and you should be fine. A lot of reviews on this yeast strain, the WLP 820 Oktoberfest. A lot of people say that it's a slow starter, it's a slow fermenter. I didn't have a problem. 7 hours this morning, it was bubbling away, so it probably started even earlier than that. I'm just doing 60 seconds of pure oxygen and making sure everything was sanitized. And the yeast, they did a 4-liter starter. It went fine. There was not a thing wrong with it. So any questions, post below. I'll definitely answer anything you got. We will have some more videos coming up. We're going to be doing the kegging of the bourbon barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout. So stay tuned for that. That should be coming up in the next 2 months. And in the meantime, subscribe. Make sure you look out for new videos. Thanks, guys.